All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, in life, we're going to get upset about certain things. We'll get mad about things, angry about other things. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with getting upset as long as you're upset at the right person or the correct entity and for the right reason. Because if you're not, or if you don't, all you're going to cause is an unnecessary expenditure of energy, and you're going to make a complete ass of yourself. And that's what happened to Mr. C.J. McCollum when he decided that he was going to tell Kevin Durant that he was mad as hell when the Golden State Warriors signed Boogie Cousins, when in fact, he should have been upset at the Portland Trail Blazers front office. As a matter of fact, he should be upset with himself for not demanding a trade because it's obvious that his team is going nowhere and going there very quickly. Even his backcourt mate, Damian Lillard, is on the verge of demanding a trade. C.J. McCollum is the only person there who still believes that they have a viable opportunity to win a championship as currently constituted. Or maybe he doesn't really believe that. Maybe that's the real reason why he's mad and he doesn't want to say that. Either way, Kevin Durant answered him very bluntly. And oftentimes when you're bluntly honest with someone, it's a shock at first. And as opposed to thanking them for their blunt honesty, you get upset with them because it's something that you're not accustomed to. I remember that Stephen A. Smith was bluntly honest with C.J. McCollum, and he also had that shock look on his face. The fact of the matter is that Kevin Durant was completely correct. The last team that you should be concerned about are the Golden State Warriors because you're about 3 levels underneath them. You have New Orleans Pelicans problems. That's what the Portland Trail Blazers have. They have New Orleans Pelicans problems. They have Utah Jazz problems. Hell, now they have LA Laker problems. They have Denver Nugget problems. Those are the teams on their level. The only teams that should have been even mildly upset at the Golden State Warriors signing Boogie Cousins are the LA Lakers. Why is that? Because they have the best player in the league. Not necessarily because they have a viable opportunity to win a championship, but because they have the best player. No one will be shocked if the Lakers ended up facing Golden State in the conference finals. And in the other conference, the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, because those are the 2 teams that have the greatest opportunity to make it to the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference. Portland has no business being upset, so CJ set himself up to get embarrassed, which he did. But anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
When the Warriors signed DeMarcus Cousins, that upset a lot of fans, but also players. C.J. McCollum discussed his anger on his podcast, Pull Up, with his guest, Boogie's new teammate, Kevin Durant. Now, CJ, as you remember, sort of tweeted out at the time, come on, guys, this isn't fair. Why are you doing this? Durant's reaction is hilarious. Take a listen.
You know how I felt, bro. I was hot. I don't know if I was more mad than when you went to go. I think I was more mad.
Why are you mad about this stuff?
Bro, I'm in the league. What do you mean? Why am I mad about this? I'm in the...
The reason why KD is asking you why you're mad is because, dude, you have no opportunity to win a championship. You're about 6th or 7th on the depth chart in the West. Portland finished 3rd in the Western Conference last season. I don't think anybody believes that they're going to finish 3rd in the Western Conference this season. To be quite frank with you, I look at them as being in the same situation as the Toronto Raptors. Masai Ujiri was astute enough to understand that if he did not initiate a complete rehaul on that roster and the head coach, that the team will come into next season mentally decrepit, as would the fan base, and they would have no real opportunity to advance to the finals. They'd just be wasting their time. That's how you know that Masai Ujiri thinks big. He actually is trying to make moves to orchestrate a championship or at least championship level contention.
In the Western Conference, I got to play you MFers all the time anyway, as it is, over and over.
That's okay, CJ. You're just an ornament on the tree. You're not the tree itself. All you are is decoration.
Over and over again, we done got eliminated by y'all a few times in the first round. So
Yes, you were eliminated by Golden State even before they acquired Kevin Durant or Boogie Cousins with an injured Steph Curry. So what in the hell makes you think that you have a viable opportunity right now with KD and Boogie Cousins? You should not even be worried about it. Just accept your check, and after this season, if you're truly as serious as you claim you are about winning a championship, demand a trade.
So you know you guys aren't going to win a championship.
Bro, we have the team. We have the capabilities. Anything is possible. We can win a championship.
So a snippet of...
In the NBA playoffs, they play 7-game series. The best players are on the floor anywhere from 43 to even 48 minutes. the best team will win a 7-game series. And if the two teams are extremely close, of course, it could come down to execution here or there, play calling, and also refereeing. Portland has neither the talent nor the schematics to defeat any of the upper echelon teams in the NBA.
Of this sound was running all over NBA Twitter last night, and I listened to it and I couldn't believe it, and I texted our producing crew and I was like, oh my God. And as I was going to bed, I had a panic. I was like, oh my God, that's probably fake, right? It can't be. It's so insane. It can't be real. So I went and checked on my podcast app and checked CJ's podcast, and it was real. I seriously couldn't believe this conversation actually happened.
I love this.
That we got to listen to it. It is amazing. What do you guys think?
So much. First off, Kevin says, why you mad? McCollum says, bro, I'm in the NBA. I'm in the Western Conference. That's why I'm mad.
Just reminding you, by the way.
And then Kevin just straight trash talks him like, well, you're not winning the championship anyway.
Not just trash talks him, laughs at him.
It's like a clown question, bro. Unbelievable. This is the NBA. That's why we love the NBA, because they talk trash, they tweet trash. It's all good.
But I will say this, like, there were a lot of fans who reacted pretty significantly when Boogie, there was a lot of players who felt this way.
Right.
Like,
Once again, they should be upset at their front office. DeMarcus Cousins is an asset that truly at this point in his career would only fit in with Golden State, coming off of an injury as debilitating as an Achilles rupture. No other franchise in the NBA would be willing, or quite frankly should be willing, to take a chance on a player with as much psychological baggage as he carries, with the penchant that he has for causing disruption both on the floor and in the locker room. No one would be willing to take a chance on him other than Golden State, because they understand that they're the only team that could bring him on, and he would be completely expendable.
I mean, CJ's overall point was, hey, at some point, we are all responsible for keeping the competitive balance of this league, and you guys...
No, not actually. That's not true at all. It's incumbent upon your general manager to keep the competitive balance for your team by drafting appropriately and acquiring the talent both in players and coaches to implement the appropriate schematics, game plan, player execution that will make you competitive in the league. That's all it's about. It's not about trying to put caps on other teams and acquiring great talent so that you can make yourself more viable. It's not quite how it works. Beyond that, Golden State hit the gold mine 3 different times when they drafted Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and then, of course, by hiring Steve Kerr.
I believe, I don't want to put words in CJ's mouth, but the impression I got from his tweets were, hey, guys should have more of a competitive spirit than just all teaming up on one team. Well, now, obviously, there's a very nuanced answer to that question, and why Boogie ended up on the Warriors, and why Kevin Durant ended up on the Warriors, and how this happened. It's not that simple. It's never that simple. But it's funny to hear his...
Well, it is, but I also think you got to remember, Boogie has the most serious injury in sports.
Absolutely, especially for a basketball player.
And let's go through it again if we need to about Achilles injuries. No one ever comes back the same. Just look at Elton Brand and how much explosiveness he lost. And he was a guy that was a workout maniac, which I don't think we can really say about Boogie. So,
well, you know what? And I've already touched on this. I think that will actually help DeMarcus Cousins, because he was never a player who was known for explosiveness, quickness, etc. anyway. He was always someone who could beat you off the dribble only because you knew that he had a very, very devastating mid-range and even long-range jump shot. And I don't think that he's going to lose that when he comes back, as long as he rehabilitates properly. And then, of course, being properly implemented within the Golden State offensive system, that should provide appropriate openings for him to build back up his confidence so that he can build strength back up in that Achilles and understanding and how to make himself a more potent option on the floor. So once again, I think that he's going to be an Achilles rupture success story. He'll be able to add his name to Dominique Wilkins as the players who've been able to come back from an Achilles rupture the most successfully, at least in my view, hopefully for him.
he's going to join this team late in the year. I think he's already admitted that or said that. So his value to the Warriors is so different than his value to other teams, and I think it's important not to lose sight.
Also, I want to say real talk on top of real talk here. The Blazers have been trying to get another star for the last year.
Yeah.
You know they tried to talk Carmelo Anthony into it last year.
Well, they lucked out in not getting him because, number one, he's not a star. Number two, he actually would have hurt their overall offensive chemistry.
They kicked the tires on Boogie apparently this season, but it didn't happen. They want to re-sign Yusuf Nurkic. they kicked the tires on Kevin Love. Cavs were not interested in trading him because they were going to extend Kevin Love.
Right.
Today, they have a trade exception for $13 million that I expect is going to expire without me using it. The Blazers, McCollum and Lillard want to improve, and they haven't been able to do it. So just keep an eye on that Blazers situation as well.
That also means that their general manager has to do his due diligence and find a diamond in the rough within the NBA draft. And that happens for all great teams. Almost every great team that has existed in the NBA for the past almost 40 years has been able to find that diamond in the rough that a lot of other teams missed. I mean, pretty much other than the 1980 Showtime Lakers, every great team has been able to find a diamond in the rough that other teams wanted to cast off or did not believe in the draft. With the Bulls, it was Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant. With the Detroit Pistons, they found Dennis Rodman. The San Antonio Spurs found Manu Ginobili. The list goes on and on. You have to find that diamond in the rough, and that's what the Portland Trail Blazers will have to do. The Golden State Warriors, they found Draymond Green.
As well.
Shout out CJ for having the podcast, by the way. Shout out, and always being straight on social media. Shout out to KD for coming on the podcast and talking. I love the whole thing. We in the NBA community, thank you guys for entertaining us in the summer.
No, you're just thankful to hear them two fools go back and forth and talk shit all damn day because you're bored as usual. Okay, so now we're going to pick up with the continuation of the Kevin Durant versus CJ McCollum quote-unquote beef over the Golden State Warriors signing DeMarcus Cousins. Let's see what they have to say about this.
And gotten into a Twitter beef with Trailblazers star CJ McCollum. And in case you missed how this started, don't worry, we will catch you up. See, CJ has a podcast, and KD came on it as a guest, which is interesting in itself, as CJ was one of the players who've been critical of Durant's joining the Warriors in the first place.
Well, I'm not particularly surprised at that because Kevin Durant has shown that when it comes to people attempting to denigrate him or talk down on his decisions, that he's willing to confront them. I think that it's a form of catharsis for him. I believe that he's someone that does not like to let things slide. He probably loses sleep over certain things that people say about him that he believes are not true. And I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with that as long as he's being sincere and genuine and true to himself. If he's someone who feels like he has to rectify certain situations ASAP, then let him do so if that's going to lead to some ease of mind on his part.
CJ was also one of the players who balked when the Warriors then added Boogie Cousins this summer. And on the pod, they had this hilarious but also kind of crazy exchange about that. Take a listen.
You know how I felt, bro. I was hot. I don't know if I was more mad than when you went to go. I think I was more mad.
Why are you mad about this stuff?
Bro, I'm in the league. What do you mean? Why am I mad about this? I'm in the Western Conference. I got to play you MFers.
Bro, don't even worry about that. Worry about the Lakers and the Pelicans and the teams that are more on your level, the Utah Jazz, the OKC Thunder. You're nowhere near the Warriors.
All the time anyway, as it is. Over and over again. We done got to live.
To be quite frank with you, though, I think that McCollum is more trying to build up a name for himself and prepare for the transition into the NBA media world than he actually is concerned about what the Warriors are doing. Let me rewind this back just a little bit to get everything that he's stating in proper context.
But also kind of crazy exchange about that. Take a listen.
You know how I felt, bro. I was hot. I don't know if I was more mad than when you went to go. I think I was more mad.
Why are you mad about this stuff?
Bro, I'm in the league. What do you mean? Why am I mad about this? I'm in the Western Conference. I got to play you MFers. All the time anyway, as it is. Over and over again. We done got eliminated by y'all a few times in the first round. So I'm looking at Cuz.
you know you guys aren't going to win a championship.
Bro, we have the team. We have the capabilities. Anything is possible. We can win a championship.
Yeah, that is KD laughing in CJ McCollum's face at the idea the Blazers have any shot to win, which made some waves on the Twitter.
It's honestly no wonder that Kevin Durant would laugh dead in CJ McCollum's face. I saw KD playing one-on-one in the Olympic practice sessions with the rest of Team USA. That dude, Kevin Durant, is a couple of levels above the top players in the NBA. As far as being a one-on-one player, he is completely unstoppable.
Pardon my take friend, Big Cat, wrote to CJ asking this, quote, permission to start using the B word again for KD, to which CJ replied, quote, I still think the B word is harsh and shouldn't be used. He knows his decision was soft, but I respect it. It's like...
No, his decision wasn't soft. It was just an option that he had that you will never have, CJ McCollum, and that's what you're upset about. The Golden State Warriors would not trade away either one of their starting guards for you because you would not be an upgrade. Kevin Durant would be an upgrade over just about any other player in the NBA at his position other than LeBron. And there's a growing faction that believes that he would be an upgrade over LeBron. So I think that in all actuality, that term bitch would be more applicable to yourself and the Caucasian man who tried to bring that word to the forefront in trying to apply it to Kevin Durant for just utilizing his free agency rights.
Getting jumped with your brothers by a gang you should have beat, then joining the gang that jumped you and your brothers 2 months later and forgetting about your bros. Okay, well...
That's the problem with so many of these NBA players. They actually believe that professional sports is about loyalty. They fall prey to that loyalty rabbit hole in professional sports. It's unbelievable to me. That's why so many of them get so butthurt when they get traded away or when the promises that are made to them verbally are never met financially. People like Isaiah Thomas and DeMar DeRozan, like these guys actually believe in loyalty in business. That shows you that they have no understanding of where they're at.
Well, a half hour later, KD had his own reply, quote, "So I would get into a gang fight, lose, plot on my brother for 2 months in our home, and then go get the gang we lost to and beat him up. You think that low of me, CJ? I just did your bleeping podcast. Snakes in the grass, boy, I tell you." Twitter, predictably, went nuts after that.
KD also has to understand that he can't go on someone's podcast, on their television show, mock them to their face, and then wonder why that person would try to get at them after they're gone. It just is what it is. It was a great moment for KD. It was a great moment for CJ McCollum. It was a great moment for everyone involved because it probably caused thousands more people to subscribe to CJ McCollum's whack-ass podcast. I'm just playing.
So then CJ tried to de-escalate things. Instead of replying to Durant directly, he put out this, quote, "There is no feud, y'all gotta chill, it was simply an analogy. I'm done speaking on KD and the Warriors because it's childish of me to do so, and soft."
Yes, it is soft. I'm glad that you acknowledge that because to be quite frank with you, for you to have Kevin Durant on your show and acknowledge to him and be willing to confirm that you were upset when they signed DeMarcus Cousins, all you're truly showing is that you have no faith in your team. Because if you truly have faith in your team, you would not be concerned about who they're acquiring. You just know damn well that you're already 10 steps behind them, and by them acquiring DeMarcus Cousins, you're not even able to go to sleep at night and convince yourself that you're able to make up ground in the offseason by training hard and working hard. You know it already, CJ. Just collect your check, brother.
LOL, that'll be taken out of context. I've always said what I feel, but we all know I've never been a snake. Back to the grind.
It's also not being a snake to utilize your free agency rights. I say this all the time. Unfortunately, in life, 99.9% of NBA fans will never know what it's like to have another job in whatever field it is that they participate in, whatever their field of endeavor is. They'll never know what it's like to have another corporation tell them, "We want you to leave your job. We're going to pay you more money. It's going to be in a nicer city. We're going to put you in a nicer home and allow your children to go to a better school." They'll never know what that's like to be recruited. So, of course, whenever they see people with those type of options in their life, they get upset and they get jealous.
And that's true, by the way. CJ has always been real on Twitter, and he also always shows a good sense of humor, which is why when the Ringers announced that it was making KD's slogan into some merchandise, CJ quoted it with, quote, "I'm going to need one of those shirts." I might need one of those shirts also. For his part, KD has not seemed to be in such a joking mood. He started arguing back and forth with a fan about the whole incident, tweets he later deleted. He did not delete this conversation with Nate Jones, who's an agent and marketer who works closely with Damian Lillard. Nate's a very insightful Twitter follow, by the way, and his note on the whole thing was this, quote, "All KD's response for criticism should be, quote, I'm happy, that's all that matters."
Well, I don't think that any of us are in the position to tell Kevin Durant exactly what to say. Of course, we're all going to have our perspective on what we think Kevin Durant should do in regards to handling situations better, but it's becoming more and more clear to me that this is catharsis for the brother, that he feels a need to address everything that people say or some of the more extreme things, because as I've stated in other videos, I'll never know what it's like to be a Kevin Durant, 7 foot tall, a globally renowned and recognized basketball star, and basically live in a fishbowl where you're constantly under harassment every day. And of course, no one can tell him to leave social media because it's obvious that he's addicted to it. So he's pretty much caught in that bubble, and he does not want to get out. So just leave him alone and let him do him.
To which KD wrote back to Nate, so they keep talking, but I have to shut up? Sounds fishy to me. But you know what? I'm not even allowed to be on here since I'm in the NBA. Let me fall back. My bad.
In other words, KD's saying that he's a fan as well.
Obviously some sarcasm there, but the first part of that does get to the issue with KD. It is not what people say that bothers him, but that they're still saying it. There's a little bit of, hey, I know you don't like my decision, but it worked out well enough. I've won 2 titles and 2 finals MVP trophies. I've been philanthropic off the court. What more do you people want? And I get that. I get why he's frustrated. I also get all the people, including his teammates, who tell him he's got to have a thicker skin and just ignore the hate. But the truth is, even if Durant stops responding to every slight, these slights are likely to keep coming as long as he plays for the Warriors. That's why I've been suggesting after winning another, title or 2 with Golden State, Kevin might want to have a next chapter and try winning with a team that feels more organic. It could bring, maybe you could bring the Knicks their first championship in more than 40 years.
I certainly believe that Golden State will not be KD's last stop. I think that this up-and-coming season is going to be a penultimate moment in KD's career in regards to deciding what he wants to do. Could he go to LA and team up with LeBron? Could he go to New York? Might he consider going back with the OKC Thunder? I think that those are going to be his main options. It would not shock me to see him try to team up with Kyrie in New York. Who the hell knows? Maybe he, Kyrie, and Jimmy Butler in New York. It would be very exciting for me. As I live in New York, I've never been a real Knicks fan. But that would certainly provide an option for viewing. There's no doubt about that. But I definitely believe that after this season, especially if Golden State were to win the championship, that he would strongly consider leaving and going somewhere else to try to write another chapter in his book, as he puts it so well.
I have a feeling he'd win over a lot of hearts and minds if he did that. I mean, there's 20 million people.
There goes the New York Knicks mascot, a.k.a. Witch Doctor Spike Lee, that big Kabbalah idiot.
People in New York alone, but that's for down the road. Right now, this is KD's reality, and this is clearly how he wants to handle it. All the rest of us can really do is sit and watch and try to duck as the sticks and stones fly by. Jackie, it took a while for me to get through all of those tweets, right? I saw Jackie checked her watch at one point, and we got to tweet number 6. What did you think of all of that? Did Durant overreact to CJ?
So yesterday we were...
I don't think that KD overreacted at all. As a matter of fact, I think that all of the overreaction came from McCollum. That's why even he acknowledged that he was coming off as soft. McCollum I'm talking about.
It's hilarious.
Right.
What a great thing. Isn't summer great?
Right, the podcast. Because the podcast is really
so fun. It's so lighthearted. And I think you've hit on it with Kevin. No matter what he does, it's not enough. No matter how well he plays, it's not enough.
Well, he's already on record as stating that he's had issues finishing number 2 his entire life. He's been in the NBA for the past 10 plus years, and he's been chasing after LeBron James. When he was drafted number 2. When he was recruited to go to college, he was recruited number 2. That's how he's always felt about himself. He has insecurity issues that he's dealing with, and they reveal themselves in how he presents himself.
And it gets to him. And is he thin-skinned? I will say this. Every other NBA player, if that was them being talked about, they would have the thin skin. Here's the difference. They count to 100 because somebody told them to do that.
Not necessarily. I just think that Kevin Durant is someone who has access to social media. He has a lot of time on his hands. And he happens to be the second most high-profile player in the NBA aside from LeBron James, who himself oftentimes gets caught up in the Twitter or the social media back and forth. But he just has too many projects, too many things on his hands. He doesn't have time to be looking at his phone all damn day.
And they don't respond. And that's the difference with Kevin. He responds. He has every right to respond. You can feel the frustration. But, man, I think if it were me, I would just be like, 2 rings, bro, 0 for you, catch you in the fall. Just keep it simple.
Or just leave Twitter.
What was it that our colleague Wright Thompson said about Twitter? That it distills the worst quality of every person? Did he overreact? Of course.
I've already stated this in other videos. I remember when I was in elementary school in the 6th grade, I had a teacher named Mr. Gross, who was Amish from Pennsylvania. This dude would always get on us. He would say, "You twits." So whenever I hear the term Twitter, to me, it's an indirect and subliminal mocking of the people who go onto the internet to give oftentimes their two-dimensional understandings or perspectives of what's going on in society. And of course, they use the emblem of the bluebird to show you that the Twitter social media platform is for mind control, because one of the terms that was used for the MK Ultra program in one of its early incarnations was Project Bluebird.
Where's the overreacted? Twitter, by its very nature, is a platform that is fueled by overreaction.
And idiocy.
Now, on CJ's part, my feeling is when you have a podcast, you have to expect, and in fact, you should invite unfiltered opinion on your podcast. You should want the Christopher Hitchens treatment.
Right.
A guy coming on throwing fastballs. So, there are no winners on Twitter. There are never any winners on Twitter. And Durant might be the biggest loser on Twitter.
I would not necessarily call Kevin Durant a Twitter loser. I think that he was a loser back when he had all of those ghost accounts. But now that he's embraced the notion that everyone is not going to like what he has to say, and he's just decided to be him, I can't call him a loser. I just think that he's someone who feels compelled to express himself.
He's the biggest loser. There are plenty of losers. But on this particular platform,
Players on Twitter too. Yeah,
Twitter invites personal disaster. It is a terrible platform to communicate feelings, emotions, and ideas.
And what happened here, I think, Rachel, is after this fun little podcast that we were all enjoying, Twitter went out and was basically telling CJ McCollum, "You got your head kicked in by KD. You got embarrassed by..."
That's exactly what happened.
By KD, he laughed at you. And so then he feels the need to respond.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. No, that all makes sense. I mean, I do think that there is literally nothing Kevin can do to change this public opinion. And we saw it with LeBron, right? LeBron goes to Miami and public opinion is so against him, right? The jerseys are burning, whatever. That first year in Miami, he couldn't win, right? There was no winning in that at all. And yet then, once he did go build the team and win the title, and then especially once he goes back and wins the title in Cleveland, that narrative has just changed, right? In Ohio, certainly all is forgiven, but overall, like his leaving Cleveland the first time is no longer in any way the defining part of his legacy. Right now.
Well, of course, LeBron James leaving Cleveland is no longer the defining part of his legacy, because he has corporate sponsors. He also has a team around him that understands how to craft image. They did a terrible job in their initial attempts to galvanize the public on LeBron James' side when he left Cleveland in the first place by trying to act as if the backdrop of a boys and girls club was going to supersede the fact that it was clear that LeBron James was grandstanding and trying to make himself out to be some type of dignitary or notable figure who had to tell everyone, "I'm going to Miami" on television. They realized that whole thing blew up in their faces, and they also understood that in order for them to re-ingratiate themselves with Middle America, they had to go back to Cleveland, and Pat Riley deciding that he was not going to kowtow to LeBron James gave them the perfect opportunity to do so. I mean, the writing was on the wall for LeBron to leave Miami. Dwayne Wade was deteriorating physically. Once again, Pat Riley was not willing to make himself LeBron James's bitch. And of course, we know that LeBron is not like that. So the opening was right there. It was perfect.
Kevin Durant going to Golden State, no matter how much he wins, is one of the key defining aspects of his legacy. Do you think that can change?
And isn't it interesting that Kevin Durant, and I happen to know this, learned from the decision, which was the worst PR disaster in the history of the world, that we don't talk about enough, in my opinion.
Right.
Kevin Durant did the exact opposite. He went to the Hamptons, he met with teams, he kept it quiet, he made a decision, and went on thinking that was going to keep him above the fray, and it didn't.
Look, I know there are about 150 people on Twitter who think his narrative is tainted by the fact that he went to Golden State. I'm sorry, was that him holding an MVP trophy after winning 2 championships
for the second
straight time?
I don't think it's 150 people on Twitter.
No,
I'm sorry, I don't. Look, if it was just 150 people on Twitter, Kevin would not be so sensitive to this.
Yes, it's obvious that it's thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people, because that's just the energy that is propagated by the modern liberal sports media. When you leave, we hate you. When you come back, we love you again. It's okay. That's life.
He would,
Everywhere
though, 'cause
KD,
Kevin's sensitive. He would
I don't
anyway.
think so. I think that everywhere
if there were one
KD
guy in a
goes,
phone booth, he
whether
would be
it's in the
sensitive
league,
about.
and that's what he was a little bit getting into with CJ, or outside the league with fans, with people he talks to, with things he hears, there is this idea that there is nothing he can do in Golden State that is ever going to mean that much.
I think he's
because
right.
He what I don't know what people think. That people think.
And that's the exact reason why eventually he will leave Golden State. Kevin Durant understands, very similar to Kobe Bryant playing with Shaq. Kobe understood this as well, that he had to have at least one championship where he was plainly the sole leader of that team, and that he put the team on his back, proverbially speaking, and carried them to a title. Kobe Bryant understood that, he embraced it, and I think that in the back of Kevin's mind, he understands it as well. That's why I believe that we should watch out for Kevin Durant giving signs that this season may be his last season with Golden State. I did a video a while ago stating that it was a possibility, however remote in my mind, that he was signed with the Lakers this offseason. I still think that that is in his mind somewhere in the recesses.
I think he cheated his way to get there, or he took the
He was a
easy
free
way,
agent.
or
He was a
what-
free agent. He did it.
I
Look,
agree with you,
my-
Jackie, but I'm saying that Kevin, I have to disagree with you. I
Okay.
don't think it's just 150 people on Twitter. I think that there is this idea that no matter what he does, he certainly will never be as popular in the Bay as Steph, and that it's sort of like, you took the easy way out. These titles don't mean as much
All
as
I'm
other
saying
people's
is,
titles.
all I'm saying is, and maybe let me reframe it from 150 people
Right.
on Twitter. In 20 years from now, when he's in that chair
Yes.
with his cute little salt and pepper goatee, and we're talking, nobody is going to care. I don't think anyone is going to look back at the full breadth of his career, of his talent, of the fact that he redefined the wing position in this league as a 7-footer who could do all of this stuff, and say,
Well, he took it to a whole other level. That's what he did. Kevin Durant as a wing brought certain components and took them to the next quote-unquote evolutionary step.
well, you kind of win at a time when Steph and them were already so good, and you kind of want
Do you think
to...
that's true, or do you think it
I
goes
just
somewhere
don't think
else?
of the full breadth.
Well, I think what's interesting is, I think you're onto something in terms of how KD feels about this. And I do think, later in the show, we're going to listen to the comments about LeBron and how he changed how players go about their business. I used to say to everybody when they said, well, Kevin Durant is going to leave at some point, the Warriors, I'd be like, well, why would he do that?
Right.
Now there's no doubt in my mind he is going to do that
do
at
think
some
so?
I agree with you, Jackie McMullen. I have no doubt in my mind that he's leaving.
point. I really do.
And you think this is part of the
I think
reason?
it all plays into it. Yes, I do.
Producer Steve, who's a Knicks fan, every time I
That is what is so great about the NBA, all these narratives.
bring up the possibility of KD going to the Knicks, and again, I want to stress, I have no reporting on this. This is my speculation that if
No shit, Rachel Nichols. We know that you don't do any real reporting. We know that you're just making shit up as you go along. I have no connections to the NBA world, and my perspectives are based in about as many sources as yours, that being zero.
he wanted to make a splashy move to go to a place where he could change the narrative, you go win at Madison Square Garden. First of all, again, New York State is 20 million people.
It hasn't happened in so long, Steve. We don't remember what it looks
Right,
like.
exactly. I mean, it's 20 million people right there, more than 150 people on Twitter. But also just the idea that then becomes even a bigger maybe part of your legacy than having.
Absolutely, and I think he will go on, and he will move on, and it'll be pretty cool. By the way, he might move on and not win.
It was incredible.
Or he might
It was
move on to
incredible when he
Miami
did
or
this
New
last time.
Orleans
The
or
2 year,
Indiana.
the 2 year extension he signed with an out after 1 year.
One-
I'm still stunned by that.
1 and 1.
I really am. I'm
And
stunned by
by
it.
the way, I'm not trying to break up the Warriors. I just think there will eventually be a time that exact team is not together.
Let's be for real. All you guys on television are trying to break up the Warriors. It's very similar to people who are malcontents and they see a certain couple where everything is going well. They try to break the couple up. You guys are trying to break this team up because things are going too well. It makes you look at your own life and say to yourself, why don't I have that? Why is my team not that good?
Together, he will still probably win at least one, maybe two more titles with Golden State.
He should.
But there's 29 other teams out there, not just the Knicks. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of teams, and he could go make a different part of his legacy. I think it's interesting.
To me, Kevin Durant to Golden State reminds me a lot of Moses Malone to Philadelphia. Of course, the big difference is that Golden State was actually able to win a championship before acquiring Kevin Durant. The Philadelphia 76ers, they could not quite get over the hump before they acquired the great Moses Malone. But Moses Malone came onto a team that it was believed belonged to Dr. J. Dr. J was the most popular player in the NBA, and that quickly became Moses Malone's team. He quickly became the most valuable and the best player on that team, even though Dr. J was still the leader. It's very similar to the scenario in Golden State with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
It is very interesting.
I don't know.
Back
And then
to
his Twitter.
OKC.
Ooh. I mean, look. LeBron went back to Cleveland.
Will someone go to it?
The problem is that I think Russell Westbrook is such a different animal. I just don't see him ever welcoming Kevin Durant back with open arms.
Atlanta. Somebody go to Atlanta.
Somebody did go to Atlanta. We're going to talk about Vince Carter.
But anyway, that's basically it on the Kevin Durant versus CJ McCollum beef, quote unquote. I'm sure that will not be the last beef that we hear Kevin Durant get into in the offseason. But anyway, peace.